I'm Randy Entrikin. I'm the owner of PMHOKC. That stands for Perfect My Home, and we're here in Oklahoma City. We also now have a office in Tulsa, so that will be branded PMH Tulsa. Father of three young kids. I know we know each other from church, and kind of a big network of entrepreneurs, and just kind of talking about like-minded stuff.
Yeah. Randy, so how did you start PMH?
Well, we're in our 15th year now, so I graduated in 2003 from Moore High School. And growing up, I was always in construction, and so you kind of gravitate towards what you're really good at and what you know the best. And so I worked for my father from a young age, 8 years old, and I think you don't really know you're an entrepreneur until you have that pull. And I definitely had the pull whenever I was probably about 15. I started butting heads a little bit, thinking I could do it better. Right. Kind of probably where every entrepreneur, feels like they can. And so luckily I had a great father that recognized that. He helped me understand how to bid jobs and everything, but he made me earn everything I have. So that was where it started, was right out of high school. I got married immediately, met my wife, and then I just pretty much said I was going to go for it. And, it came easy to me because mainly I knew everything that most entrepreneurs know 15 years into it. And so, I just built on that, and, I'm very results driven. So I was constantly challenging myself to just build the company, and it came pretty natural to me.
Randy, quick question. When you started your company, what things are, I guess you say, principles that you go by to keep you pushing, to keep you motivated during those times where the results wasn't there, but you just knew, like you said, I guess you could call it your knower, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, our mission statement is put people first, build leaders, and serve our customers through giving more value and exceptional service. Now, that wasn't my mission statement from a long time ago, but throughout my career, that mission statement has kind of evolved into my whole last 15 years experience. And so, from a very early day in the business, I always put the first principle of treating people the way they should be treated first. I grown up as a Christian. The golden rule is always the number one thing that you do. Everything you do is always putting people first and treating other people how they want to be treated. And then, just foundational principles on business. I mean, luckily, like I said, I had a father to mentor me growing up and learn from him. And, you tend to learn from your mistakes. And as a young entrepreneur, I made plenty of mistakes. And so I just, you measure what you treasure. And I definitely paid attention to what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong.
Nice.
So what was the main influence that helped you build the values that PMH is built upon?
Well, I think I saw a lot of inconsistencies in construction, and a lot of those was just more focused on money and rather than the customer. There was a lot of influences that influenced the way I did business. I mean, Jeff Bezos, one of those customer service obsessed, and I grew up in the era where he was at the beginning, right when I was at the beginning. So we were almost kind of neck and neck, and you just tend to gravitate towards people that do it the right way. And even pastors in my church and friends, and a lot of those are self mistakes too that I've learned from. But the values that we have is goes right along with what I learned from other people's mistakes and mine. Treating the customer number one, treating your team, number one, and then just some fundamentals in construction, like cleaning up after yourself, working within your deadlines, doing what you say you're going to do, and those have kind of formed our core values at PMH.
What is your main form of marketing and why?
Well, I believe in using all forms of marketing. If you don't, I believe in at least trying it. And I am a user of all forms of marketing other than print material. I don't believe in print material very much. I do a little bit of it. I don't do billboards, radio. My main form of marketing is social media. So, of course, I use Google and I use AdWords and all that, but social media has definitely been a huge part of our success, and it continues to prove to be the number one source of income for us. And we just became a student of it very young in our business, and it still to this day is the number one way that we bring in income.
Right. So, what was your first memory of social media? I know for me, it was MySpace, and Tom was your first friend. So, what was your first experience of social media?
I didn't get into MySpace too much. I was aware of it. My first memory was mainly Facebook, and I remember looking at it, and I really kind of thought it was stupid at first. But then I started realizing that the organic reach on it was unbelievable. Yeah. And I knew it was special from the very beginning because you could post one thing, and it's much different than it is nowadays. So, like, some people out there may be looking at it now, maybe you're young and you may think this is all crap. But in the beginning days of Facebook, it was very, very good, and much different than now. Even so it's a little harder to make money on Facebook unless you know what you're doing. Yeah. But my main memory was just the wow factor of like, okay, this is social media, and this is designed to be social for friends and family, but really, it's much more than that. Yeah. Like, money drives everything in this world usually, and social media was not really. Maybe it was originally designed to be social, but I think Zuckerberg quickly realized that the main call to action there was to get people to buy advertisements, and they made it so good for you that it was just too hard to pass up. And so I just jumped on the train and was kind of one of the pioneers in construction, and we amassed a huge following early. And not just likes, but fans. Right. And that's what really kind of catapulted us into social media, was those early successes.
Right. Sure.
Do you believe that social media is a must for business?
I really do. Nowadays a lot of people will tell you what they think, but people often criticize what they don't understand. And I've seen both sides of the coin. And I've been out to help people with social media, and a lot of people won't listen because all they have in their mind is that it won't work for me. Right. And really, there's a whole level deeper that most people don't understand about Facebook. And the average person will try something one time, and they'll think that they're not doing it right, and maybe they're not doing it right. But from my experience, I've had multiple failures in social media, but you measure what you treasure. And if you don't measure what you're doing and actually run your own statistics and numbers on why it's not working, then it's just, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And I believe every business should be using social media. Yeah. Whenever we started doing social media, I tracked every single thing. I have notebooks full of ads. So I'll make an ad, and I will basically have columns of, what worked, so that all of the measuring sticks for it. And for a while, I was like kind of disappointed at, how our ads were going. So I did something. I split tested, and I put the fireplace picture before I did the pergola picture, and our reach went twice as much. And that is just a perfect example of how a 2 millimeter shift, something that Tony Robbins teaches, will completely change the outcome of an ad. And that's the truth. Is like when advertising, you're usually this much away from a breakthrough. And I proved that on Instagram with getting 10,000 followers in 4 months. And that was kind of a challenge to some people that I know, and also to myself. I wanted to show people it was possible, and I did it from scratch. And I had a lot of people following me do that, but some of those people dropped off because they just basically had it in their mind that they couldn't achieve that goal. And I was fully transparent on everything that we did on it, but people only believe what's on the surface. And that's the way this whole world goes, is, people want the easy button. They want the shake. They want the easy button. Basically the reason why I did that 10,000 likes was because Instagram has one of the most powerful call to action tools on the planet right now, which is the swipe up method.
Right.
You cannot get that unless you have 10,000 likes. And so that is, basically, I mean, it's powerful. You swipe up, the people naturally swipe up with their phones, and that's just another tool that you can use within social media that most people don't even know.
Yeah, nice. Today's social media is, our parents' TV network. So what that means is, like, now you have YouTube, you have social media, Instagram, Twitter, which would be in comparison to TNT, the major networks. They say now TV is kind of the way of the radio now.
Yeah.
Do you think that's accurate?
I do believe that. I follow Gary Vee, and I've basically modeled my whole social media posting after jab, 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 right hook,
Right.
which is just give, ask.
Right.
And most people are doing social media wrong. It's all right hook. Everything's a right hook. It's buy this, buy now. But what social media is, it really is a tool to make money, but it's really designed to entice your audience, to bring them in to be a fan of your product, number one,
Right.
and then you ask for the sale. And so I'm a huge fan, and I definitely believe in that thesis, because one day social media will be on the out, and it might be Amazon Alexa.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is? It may be AR. Eventually, it is coming, and the thing is the market is undefeated.
Yeah.
The market always wins. It's never lost. And it doesn't really care what you think. It doesn't care what your feelings are. And you have to be willing to adapt to what the market, because it will tell you the feedback that you're looking for.
So you need to just basically jump on the train and learn how to use it and make it successful for your business.
Yeah. And that's why I think you should always try multiple things, but not just try it, but become a student of it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to go dedicate in your mind that you have to go all out towards something, because if you just go skin deep or surface level on something, you're not gonna really enjoy all the benefits that you can get from it, because the breakthrough happens after the give up point for most people.
What are some of the things you do to kind of combat what you just talked about, like that transition between? So, for instance, at one point, like I said, MySpace, then Facebook, now Twitter, then the TikToks and things like that. Are there things you have in place kind of combat against that, as far as email lists? Something basically where you're not pigeonholed by the social media in the event of where advertisement gets through the roof with, as far as paying for advertisements and things like that. Do you have anything in place to kind of combat against that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of we do email marketing, we do drip campaigns through ClickFunnels, which ClickFunnels, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's just a easy way of setting up little mini websites, and then they hit the funnel, and then they can basically go wherever you tell them to go. But it's basically a link that you can you can use that link to advertise social media. On social media, you can do an email marketing list. But yeah, we do email marketing. We do a lot of trade shows. We advertise locally for showroom walk-ins, and we get aggressive with marketing. And the main thing is you just got to figure out what works, but also not be tied down to one where all your eggs are in one basket. But I look at marketing like it's your house. Yeah. You have a front door, you have a garage door, you have a back door, you have an attic, access. You have many doors in your house. Something can have the front door, and nowadays the garage door is the front door. Right. So for me, social media, and I would even break social media up into Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff. I use all those. Yeah. But Facebook is my garage door. Okay. It's the number one driver. Okay. Instagram would probably be second. Mm-hmm. Our market is not really on TikTok, and our market is 35 to 55. Okay. So, you got to know your audience. But then, Google AdWords, and you have all these other tools, and then they just kind of make up the whole big picture of marketing. Yeah.
So what words of advice would you have for someone who has maybe always done marketing old school, or is brand new, wanting to start a business, doesn't really know how to do social media for marketing? Where would you tell them to start?
Well, the main thing I would say is to start where I started, and this may sound really basic, but you have to dive into it, and you have to dedicate a certain amount of time, but you have to track it. So, most people will just dive right into it, and they won't track anything. They'll just look at the numbers. Well, the numbers at the end is probably the least important thing you should be worrying about. You need to make columns of clicks, impressions, swipe up actions, and then conversion rates, because you can have all these impressions, but that's not really going to pay the bills. Right. But really the secret to our success is retargeting. So Facebook has a thing called a pixel. Yeah. Pixel is a piece of HTML code, for anybody that doesn't know, and you put it in the back end of your website, and basically you'll get cold leads to come to your website. Facebook compiles them into a list, and then that list can be retargeted along with other interests and everything. But the bulk of that new campaign to that pixel audience is your warm market. So your cost per impression goes way down, and so your money goes a whole lot farther. And that is truly the secret to the success for social media, is to market to more people that like your product.
Nice.
So you mentioned targeting a specific age bracket. How do you specifically do that?
Some of that's data just from your conversions, and so you have to be very self-aware of or just aware of who your market is, and you can do that through research. Facebook has a tool called Audience Insights, and so for example, we found out that 80% of our audience was a fan of Budweiser. Not many people. That's kind of a trade secret. That's through my research, but that is a perfect example of just research. And we could talk about that topic for an hour and a half. But you whenever you have a little bit of data of who's actually converting for you, you have to kind of go deeper into that and do stuff like just a follow-up visit and pay attention to what they like, and you'll see a trend. Our trend is 35 to 55, upper income, certain demographics in different areas. So we're targeting specific areas. A lot of our audience likes the Thunder, and so we put a geofence around the Thunderdome during Thunder games, and we market those people. So those are just different tools that you can use to find your audience. But it just takes the main answer to that. It just takes some grit work and your research. and it's not easy, but you will see a trend. After a while, you'll see a trend, and most of your audience will like the same thing.